Hi, my name is Angie, founder of the new website called BreakingFamilyPatterns.com, and we are here today interviewing Gary Stuart, who is a facilitator of the amazing work called Family Constellations. Gary's been a facilitator of this work for about 10 years,
yeah,
is that right,
10
Gary?
years, yes.
10 years. He has two websites about this work. One is called chifield.com, chifield.com, and the other is
omniscientones.com.
And that is about a little bit more in-depth about the work.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. Gary is also the author of several books, and one amazing piece of work that is about family constellation, and in fact would be called the definitive work on the subject, is called Many Hearts, One Soul by Gary Stuart.
And it's available on Amazon globally as well.
Gary, we've done, in the past, we've done a few sessions on the basic and fundamentals of family constellation work.
Yes.
Today we'd like to go in a little bit deeper and discuss some of the more esoteric elements of the work. Do you have any information for us today? If we could be real concise, Gary, and in a nutshell, what is constellation healing work?
Yes, yes, yes. Well, the biggest discovery about it was spoken about in our other videos on the actual process, which I recommend you go to those videos so we don't have to start from scratch here. But what we're doing is looking at the consciousness of a family system's invisible dynamics. So we all know our family history, we know the stories, but there's almost invisible dynamics that are pushing the stories forward. We get the DNA, but you could call it like an electron field around the DNA. It has all the information of whatever happened to those people who shared your DNA with you.
Okay, I have a question here right from the start. Suppose you don't know, suppose you're an adopted child, you don't know your family history of your DNA birth parents, or possibly you do have family, but you don't know further than, say, your parents or maybe even just your grandparents, and you have no further information whatsoever. Does family constellation work even if you don't know your family history or very much of it?
Yes, yes. The thing is, just the fact that we received the DNA from our ancestors, it's a living organism, but I think Bert Hellinger, the discoverer of this modality, or the best way to use it probably would be more accurate, is that there's a field of consciousness around the DNA, and that holds the real stories and the real energy of the life force without us even knowing the historical dates, times, and places.
I see. So there is information that's accessible
about
a family's ancestral lineage.
Yes.
Even if the present generation knows nothing at all.
Absolutely, absolutely. In the constellation process, we use surrogates or surrogate representatives to be your great-grandmother, and very specific information would come through that woman to help you heal whatever issue you happen to be working on. So the field of information, which I call invisible dynamics, is around all of us constantly. It's actually around the plants. Animals share it. Some people in allegedly lower life forms would call it instinct. There's an instinct where you just know something. I always like to think of those turtles that the eggs are on the beach, and then how do they know to swim to the water the minute they get out of the shell? What is it in that turtle that knows the water's this way, and I better go in right away before I get eaten by a predator? So there's an instinctual blueprint, if you will, that we're all following unconsciously that was actually created by our ancestors. So we unconsciously know things that we don't have the experience of, but yet we know something because our ancestors knew something and we're sharing their DNA.
I see. So the secret lies in the DNA?
It's the energetic field around the DNA, because we all receive the DNA, which is our genetic makeup of our two strands, 50% from our mother, 50% from our father, but the energetic field has the thousands of people that went into each little genome that's part of that strand. And the science of that, which is just coming to the forefront now, it's called epigenetics.
Yes, we've heard of that word just recently. It's been in our consciousness.
Yes.
And I have another thought here. Suppose there is a family, unknown, I don't know very much about my ancestry
Yes.
beyond my grandparents, like
Mhm.
many, many people, that's pretty much where your information stops.
Yes, absolutely.
Suppose there's lies been passed down, that what you think you know about your family actually isn't accurate.
Yes.
And suppose there are secrets. Is there a way to uncover the truth and get beyond the secrets that have been told generation to generation?
Absolutely. Generally, the stories that have been told were to cover up some ugly truth or some painful fact in the family.
Yeah.
So as a defense mechanism, a story is made about it to make it more palatable. But what we find with this work, where we're using representative surrogates, sometimes we get to expose, so to speak, the ugly truth. This is all done in unconditional love. We do not judge it in any way, shape, or form, but we have to speak it as it really is. So people lie to avoid pain, basically. It's a natural human trait. Everyone does it. And we're not calling your ancestors liars, but they wanted to protect you from pain to the best of their ability. And more than not, where we communicate verbally and non-verbally as human beings, that a story covers up, it's almost like the scab on a wound. They put a nice little Band-Aid on that wound so no one will lift it up and look inside to see what the pus is under the wound or what the infection is in the cut.
Yes. Also, there seems to be another layer of why there might be a family secret or deception passed down. Maybe it's a social or cultural
Absolutely.
thing that people want to be respected and save face and keep the image of being a happy family and a unified family, rather than show the truth that is actually there. And I think most people will understand that. It's kind of very much, most cultures will do that and want to do that, rather than show the truth, which can be not so pleasant to look at.
Yes. Well, don't forget, we're all social beings, so on top of our family's consciousness, we have a social consciousness, a national consciousness of the nation we're from, and a human consciousness on top of that. So there's like 5 or 6 layers of consciousness in human social systems. So the family's at one level, you're trying to improve yourself on a social level, then the country you're in is trying to improve their, say, national reputation or whatever, that everyone better go along so we can call ourselves whatever nation we are. So there's a lot of pressure. Pressure to conform.
Yes. And then not even to leave out the religious layer
Yes.
of all that's layered on top of us and we carry around with us, trying to be the very best spiritual, religious, loving soul we can. Gary, you mentioned a phrase, the invisible dynamics.
Yes.
Can you give us a little insight into what that phrase means, invisible dynamics?
Well, it's what's passed on. The best way to put it is that the life force is passed on, and there's much to support life that we take for granted. Let's say we take things for granted. We take it for granted that there's oxygen to breathe, water to drink. It's always there, so we don't see it. The minute it's gone, we really notice it. So in our family system, we always think we have a mother and father, which most of us do. Then when one dies suddenly, and then there's a grief dynamic that takes over, and then there's a learned response to grief that is just instinctually shared with a group of mourning people. And in that, there's certain beliefs and attitudes about those who died before, so that whole consciousness of how to experience grief is passed on, almost as an invisible dynamic. This is how we handle grief in this family. This is how we handle hurt. This is how we handle pain. It's almost like we're following unwritten instructions through our instinct and consciousness of what our family believes.
Yeah, that I understood that. It was very well put.
Well, thanks.
Very clear. No, that it's very much like a field of how to do life.
Yes, absolutely.
That's passed down from the family to family, culture to culture. You know, national. All these invisible instructions we're getting, even if they're not formal education, it's really stuff we learn, and everyone learns it, no matter where you're born, what country you're raised in. It's part of the fact of being human.
Absolutely.
Gary, this has been so interesting. Once again, thank you so much for the insights, and we look forward to talking to you further.
Great, we have a lot more. Thanks.
Yes.